has been a very interesting session. IEIA is now laying the grounds for the future of the Indian exhibition industry. Once we are skilled, we can showcase to the world that all major exhibitions can come to India as well. Last 1 year has been a very interesting year where a lot of hybrid formats were discussed and people started thinking whether there's an alternate for physical exhibitions or not. We today have Mr. Colja Dams, who is a technology specialist on hybrid shows, and he is going to showcase his various interesting concepts which can be emulated by various organizers, various exhibitors, etc. We also have Mr. Sanjay Wadhwa in conversation with Mr. Colja Dams. I don't want to take too much of time. Let the pros take the stage and tell us how hybrid events, how hybrid exhibitions can happen in the future. Over to you, Sanjay, and over to you, Colja. We look forward to see you talk. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and congratulations to Sonia ji and all the respective EC members, other IEA members on completing the 15 years. It's really an achievement. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to conduct the knowledge session today. Like Suraj ji, you correctly said that, since the pandemic started, a lot of format has gone to hybrid. And there were a lot of questions in our mind, what will happen, how will happen, what would to do. So today, a good important topic we chose was the technology and hybrid. And how does it complement the new future of exhibitions? There is no question that the current pandemic has fundamentally changed the live communications. World over, hybrid formats have been adapted. It is a long-term development that will transform the way we plan, design and experience exhibitions and events in the future and will emphasize the power of live experience significantly. Today we have a special guest joining live from Germany, Mr. Colja Dams, owner and CEO of Fog Dams Worldwide, an international agency that has been at the forefront of the events and live marketing industry since 1971. Its many international awards and distinctions confirms Fog Dams' reputation. Good morning, Colja. It's great to have you join us today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, and congratulations to 15 years.
We understand that you are very passionate about driving innovation in communications and always looking forward for potential in new technologies. So FogDam has 19 offices in 12 countries, which makes it interesting for us as you will be able to share international experiences in hybrid format and new technologies that are being used worldwide. So I would not take longer and I would let Colja proceed with his presentation and share his views. Colja, let's deep dive into your presentation.
Anya, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. It is a pleasure, and I'm just going to tune into the presentation. I hope you can all see me right. I'm actually presenting here out of a green screen studio. That is my home office studio, and I'm operating it myself. So just in case you're wondering why I keep looking down to hit the next slide. It's a pleasure of being here, and thank you for the introduction. So I'm going to skip everything on Fog Dams, just maybe a little bit. We've been founded almost 50 years back. It's my father's company, and I had the pleasure to take it over 17 years ago. Now, we are coming from a field that is the classical live events field. And if I'm talking about live events, this is all experiences, maybe trade show experiences, live events, everything where brands and people come together. And we've been doing a whole lot of it all over the world. We've been doing product launches on international airports, like here in Miami for Lamborghini and other fast automotive clients. We've been doing anniversaries, bringing 50,000 people celebrating the anniversary of their brand, or just a few thousand people into halls with great introductions, focusing on the experience, bringing brands and people together, or bringing the product to the people. This is an example we did for a German automotive client, launching a new car in a cargo airplane, flying it around the world, and really focusing on the experience, on the tarmac of an airport. And you can imagine in times today, it's not so easy to do events in New York, in San Francisco, in Beijing, China, right there on the airport, inviting people. Of course, we also support clients in doing their trade shows worldwide. Now, when this pandemic hit us, it hit everywhere in the world, but we were extremely lucky because we've been looking into different parts of how to match technology and events for quite some time. And I'm actually, a lot of times people keep telling me that I'm a bit of a geek because I love to play around with technical innovations and see how we can fit them into events. So we've been doing hybrid events for over 15 years now. We actually wrote a book at this time, which we actually have to rewrite now, because hybrid events, how we used to know them, to hybrid events today are totally different. Now, we're coming from a world that was almost 80% live. 80% live in-person physical event and only like 20% different, digital at the most. Then, after the pandemic hit, we slid into almost fully digital. And now, and this will be the future, bringing live and digital together, coming to hybrid events. Hybrid events is really bringing live and digital together, so combining the best of two worlds, the best of the in-person live experience with the broad range and enormous scalability of being digital. Now, we are not the only ones thinking this. I'm always looking forward to the world's announcements in the beginning of the year of the world's new predictions of the Gartner Group. You are familiar with Gartner. They are asking like couple thousand marketing decision makers worldwide, and then introduce a prediction every morning, every beginning of the year. And usually I do read this prediction on the plane heading to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Okay, now it's purely digital, and I receive the e-magazine in my home office. And now this e-magazine was focusing as well. So Gartner asked thousands of marketing decision makers, and they stated that all marketing communication, so we're not just talking about trade shows, events, but the whole of marketing communication will be 60% going hybrid by the year 2023. So now the huge advantage of going hybrid is that you can decide if you're going fully digital or fully live, and really go into these parts. And especially as the pandemic evolves in different parts, we are not sure that we may be going fully live, then you can still switch in certain parts and decide what you're going to do. Now let's take a bit of a deep dive on what we did with digital events. But before we do this, let's take a quick look into how we experienced the market in 2021. Now, in the beginning, the market, January, February, and parts of March, the virus only hit China. And honestly, I thought, okay, I've seen this before with the SARS 17 years back. This is just going to affect our China business, and it's not going to affect us in other parts around the world. So we'll just focus, so we probably have to close down our offices there for a few weeks, but that's it. Okay, I was wrong. It was turned out totally different. And of course, last year then the virus hit everywhere, and most of our clients were in a shock situation. So everyone was like canceling events, was focusing on postponing or canceling. So there was a lot of very shocked behaviors. Then we came into an experimental phase. And this experimental phase was actually where lots of clients, we supported them with try new things out. And a lot of times also taking elements from live into digital, vice versa, and really trying new stuff. Then a waiting phase mid of last year started. Now the vaccines were coming. Everyone was hoping it's going to go live again, and it's going to be going back to normal. But like everyone is aware now, we will never be back to normal as the normal that we knew before. So now we entered a strategic phase. A strategic phase where clients question everything what they do and rethink their entire customer journeys. They rethink their entire customer touch points and take it from there, and do not start with the how and what, but do start with the why. So really take it a step back and focus on the strategic levels on these parts. Now let's take a quick look at some of the events we did in the past. We did over 1,200 events this last year, most of them fully digital, but some of them hybrid. And I'd like to share with you the moments of success, because what we did after 400 and a few, we questioned our clients, the attendees, but also our project team to see what is the outcome and what are our learnings from the 400 events we did. And I love to share this learning with you because most of it will not be surprising, but it helped us very much for developing further with technologies and concepts to really take these learnings into consideration. Let's start with one. The first one is participation, interaction, and everything that goes beyond just broadcasting. There are certain different levels how people would like to interact. We do have the rule of thumb that about 1% of all attendees would like to interact extremely strong, but others would like to interact not on these levels. But you have to keep a low threshold in enabling this interaction and really moving it into co-creation. The next one is multisensory and haptic moments. People want to feel stuff, and we've been starting to send out packages. People are unwrapping, so we're doing unboxing events online. So you're opening a box at a certain moment in the program and to have this haptic feeling, this what you're missing out when you're sitting in your home office. And this especially, not only the contact to other people, but especially this haptic moment of a trade show. So what we are doing, for example, we take one key small element of maybe a large machinery that was supposed to be shown as a trade show that was called off, and we're focusing in these parts again and mail it out and have everyone unwrap it, and it really guides them as a red thread through the entire event. The next one is autonomy and freedom of choice. This is actually a trend that we see coming back because it came from digital to live. So we started out creating live, what we call corporate content festivals, where everyone was able to pick and choose and see which tracks to follow. So everyone was not forced to just watch one panel discussion, but everyone was able to pick and choose their own content, exactly the same as you do it on the internet. You can watch a video there, chat here, or look up something there. And this is exactly what then came back from digital to live, and now is going back from live into digital, that with digital events, we do need to offer autonomy and freedom of choice to the target group. The fourth one is timing and pace. When we had a trade show that was on for 10 days, now going fully digital, it's extremely difficult to keep people attending out of their safety of their home offices with everything around. They have to take care of kids, food and everything. Getting everyone focused now for 10 days is impossible. So we reduced to a max the time and got the pace really speeded up so that we're focusing here on a lot shorter part. And we learned that you have to include breaks. People need to go to the restroom. So you, even in a digital format, you need to have breaks. The next one is the networking and the interpersonal dialogue, that you're really there to matching people. Serendipity, a word that I wasn't even aware of before this situation, that you have these encounters with fellow attendees talking about some stuff that is fun, that is amazing, that is something special, and really bringing this back together is extremely important. And of course, last but not least, you do need great content. Great content, fresh, surprisingly, that is really fit to the screen in front of you and that is produced specifically to be used for the event so that you have a chance to really move this forward with. Now, there are 3 immersion levels for events as we see them right now. It's coming from live broadcasting to really virtual events and setups and going into hybrid as the third part. I'm just going to walk you through a very few examples from live broadcasts to start with. Now, we've been doing everything from digital sales kickoffs to online press conferences to international summits. We were lucky to support the American election here and creating everything from scratch, or digital sales conferences, or doing substitutes for trade shows. So the trade show couldn't happen, so we created in green screen studios, virtual backgrounds, interplacing everyone, including their products, in these places to create a total environment. But this may also be in a very simple theater-style studio setup to really focus on the people attending and speaking in these parts. Of course, appreciation events are extremely important because it's important to bring the people up on stage that are the best salespeople, the people that really did great right now. And it's extremely difficult to get this recognition virtually online. But we found ways and possibilities to create this few minutes of fame to these people that needs to be there on the virtual stage. Or the product becomes the hero, and we are doing here also product launches instead of trade show appearances, really focusing on the product to go out of there. Then I'd like to share with you virtual events. Virtual events, there are different parts where we create totally virtual setups in these fields, where we have totally virtual meetings, where we're focusing on purely virtual atmospheres, creating out of the world worlds where people can interact. They get their little avatar and are able to go about and around there. You can also add or combine classical broadcasts, like here, people in a green screen studio, combining with these elements in these parts. A lot of times, clients ask us to create digital twins of their buildings so that we are really putting people in the digital environment that looks exactly like the live environment. I'm not a huge fan of these because I believe we're not using the internet up to a level where it really pays off. But it is a way to go ahead these years, and it really works out. But here, which is extremely promising, I believe when we look at these pictures some time back, everyone is going to say, okay, this was one of these COVID events, because this will not stay like these elements. Because also we're moving hybrid. And hybrid has one large advantage, and this was surprisingly for us, because you are in India, but also in China, you are in an extremely strong market for exhibitions, trade shows, and events. And especially the lockdown not being as tough in the Chinese market, we could continue after a few weeks with live events in China. So our offices in Shanghai, Beijing, Hong Kong were able to invite guests locally, and the rest of the world was there connected together. The idea now, this became all of a sudden a hybrid situation. And from this hybrid situation, it has a huge advantage, because you can focus on the target group on site a lot better, because the target group on site is really focusing on the guests there, especially in language situations. You can have like a pure Chinese host, and then when you're switching to the international content, you switch to English. Also, an advantage we saw is that we're going here into creating these atmospheres where we are bringing people in small groups, live and virtual together, and really have this surround experience with people live and virtual in the same room. And we've discovered that what we call satellite events are becoming more and more popular. Maybe for us, you can tell hybrid is not a format. Hybrid is a trend. Hybrid is a state of mind. And we will see in the next weeks and months what will be evolving to. And especially here, we are creating a satellite event, bringing together everyone in one central location, but all the markets, as here for an automotive company, all the markets, I'm actually hiding this here, are getting together in their local markets, doing events there, and then linking these events up in certain parts of the program, bringing them all together, and then separating them again. So this is what we call satellite events, becoming more and more popular. And of course, for classical conferences, of course, the hybrid solution is key and is working out extremely fine. Now, what is coming up? What is going to be the future? And while we have been looking a lot in this last 1.5 years into the tech part, we believe the tech part is okay, but do not focus on the tech part, focus on the strategy. Technology follows strategy. There's so much out of there, and more clients do hit the reset button. They do hit the reset button, deciding all their customer journey touch points with their customers new. So they redesign the entire customer journey and kill all their projects and put it all into one project and decide what is happening there. And this is what we call Brand Experience Hub, giving a home to all these events out there, be they live, digital, or these parts. And this is extremely helpful, because you're not just digitizing one trade show, but you are opening it up and offering every part in the company, may it be from sales, marketing, but also after sales, support, training, HR, and getting it all together and interlinking all the data pools that are out there. And we are extremely lucky to have a few clients supporting us with this, and especially clients like Grohe. Grohe is the leading manufacturer for kitchen fittings and bathroom things. And we've created this digital experience hub, this brand experience hub, bringing it all together, all their target groups, may it be the architect, the installer, the end user, the press, and bringing it all together on one platform and creating something there where every single day there's new content on this platform. And now it's already quoted, this becomes the Netflix of the end industry. So everyone in this industry is coming together there. And I do see lots of potential for trade shows and there to create these brand experience hubs. So now what's going to come after COVID-19 or whenever, because we never know if there is going to be an after COVID-19, or we'll just have to live with COVID-19 the same we have to live with earthquakes, global warming, and terrorist attacks. So now it is going to stay hybrid. So hybrid is going to be definitely the idea, the state of mind for the future. And because I love this lever so much, I keep showing it again, because it has so much possibilities to really go from fully digital to fully live and anywhere in between. Now, I'd like to share with you a few thoughts on the basis of this success. First, you do need to really focus on extremely good guest management and crew management, because now, especially in pandemic times, these two intermingle. So we've changed all these guest management practices. We are focusing on testing on site in different parts, and we've created with a startup a PCR testing mobile so that you can even do PCR tests, not just rapid tests on site. Of course, you have to keep people waiting in different zones, getting them in. You have to recreate your entire layout of systems to make sure that you have enormous hygiene and working hygiene setups there in place. And everything digital, live, we believe the key magic of it is that you level it out, that hybrid events keep digital and live on the same experience level. So these will be different experiences for the ones attending live and the ones attending digital, but it has to be the same level of experience. And how do we do this? We do use an open platform. We are extremely fans of using open platforms, because in a complex world, if you shut it down and you oversimplify it, whatever solution you have there, the second you have the solution up and running, it is outdated. Therefore, to create an open platform where you are able to really bring in all the good stuff that's out there and that is being developed by startups all around the world, and really put this together. So we actually, together with IBM, created one of these open platforms that is able to really link everything in there that's out of there. And so now, how do you manage to really keep these two experiences up to the same level? It is all about true interaction. And I'd like to share with you a few examples that you're probably familiar with. For example, Video Ask. You have the opportunity to really ask a question and tape it to video, send the video off, and you will get the video answer back. And of course, all these answers that are now on video, you do develop an enormous library of these video answers you can use with. Or chat roulette, you're probably familiar with. It is people in our company name it Tinder for events. So you can choose and pick and choose the people you want to chat to. Digital to digital, but also live to digital. And it's enormously fun and meets this interactive networking opportunity. Or using the second screen. This is, of course, a no-brainer and has been out there to do polls, chat, and everything. But if you manage to use the smartphone in the live setting, but also in the virtual setting, it's extremely helpful. And especially for trade shows, this is lots of fun. the virtual buddy. If you have people there on the trade show as your guests and people attending virtually, link them up one-to-one. So now it's not you explaining and showing around the product experience, but it's one of the other attendees showing around their buddies in your setup. And this is an enormous potential there. We've done quite a few events focusing on that, and it's enormous potential out there. Last but not least, I'd love to share a bit of high-level content, because we believe high-level content is key, that you really go into this content part. One element that we've been using, it's also so simple. It's a one-to-one connection, but not from a virtual buddy, but from your product genius. So you have people there that are normally working at the booth at your trade show explaining the products to potential clients. Now just link them up one-to-one over FaceTime or any other technology to really have a one-on-one showcase, but right there on the product. And that's important because you do need the room for the product and really bring it there as well. And product augmented reality, bringing it all together in using different parts to really combining live and digital in these parts and making it fun to watch. Of course, also having mixed reality opportunities, bringing real people, but you're in India, I believe, in the forefront of these technologies. But also we believe extremely strong in cloud studio setups, where you're linking people together, not with a studio on site, but just people virtually on these parts. Of course, there's lots of fun integrating real life events and also trade show experiences into existing computer games, or producing really live to tape. And this is one fun thing. You may have watched the Louis Vuitton launch in Shanghai. Now we are adding to digital events, live people like we did in television 30, 40 years ago to enhance the feeling for the people attending. It's lots of fun. And voice only. You're familiar with Clubhouse. I'm not sure that Clubhouse will be the future as the app, but the technology, as simple as it is, we see more and more of it, that we are doing audio only. And audio only you can do also in the breaks of events while people are heading back to their hotel rooms, but you can also do it in the beauty of your home if you're attending virtually, and while you're cooking, doing the dishes or taking care of your kids. You can just listen, or if you're interested, move up on stage and continue the discussion. So there are lots of moments like this. And this is an example I'd like to share from an amazing agency that just did this in China, doing these massive drone shows that I'm a huge fan of. And the key what they created with it is they created a QR code that you can now link these drone shows to the web and to your digital experience as well. So making it truly hybrid, being there and closing the gap into the customer journey. But now from all of these coming back, I'd like to mention just at the end that I believe in this campfire gene. Every one of us believes in this campfire gene in all of us. Ever since mankind, people are drawn to the campfire. And therefore, I'm extremely sure that we will now, the second as it's possible, we will go back to a peak of live events. And because every one of us is looking forward to be back at this campfire. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And now I'm looking very much forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Colja. It was very, very informative and really gave us a lot of perspective of, using the technology in the hybrid formats. One of the things, because we know that they're very linked to the technology, and what are the challenges that you feel in your experience of doing so many of the events, worldwide? what challenges do you feel, you have faced, and how can we overcome that? We talk about a lot of options, but not everybody has the, the way to do it.
Absolutely. There are, of course, lots of challenges, but we'd love to focus on the opportunities and the situation on the challenges. Of course, you have different levels of technology savviness. For example, you in India are already a lot further in the technology digital transformation as countries as Germany or Europe were. So now due to this pandemic, we were fast-tracked in digitalization and in this process. So therefore, I believe a lot of people are able to use and learn this. But there's still drawbacks. For example, augmented reality is enormously cool and fun, but people sending out to 500 people AR goggles and having them set them up on their computer tends to become an enormous nightmare, because most people do still have challenges and technological hurdles there. On the overall level, I believe, do not worry about the technology. Technology has to follow the concept and your strategy. So go start with your strategy. You will find the technology that will help you do whatever you are looking for out of there right now.
Thank you. Another thing, as we are a, association of the exhibition fraternity in India, and the core of exhibitions is face-to-face communication, which has, due to pandemic and the situations world over, it has been lost. We are trying to cover that gap with using various digital platforms, but do you really feel that instant connection, can be made using the virtual platforms? Because when you're live at the show, you meet and greet, you make that instant bond, and you're able to showcase your technology as well as, have a touch and feel of the products. Now in these days, it's like you said, different countries have different situations of pandemic levels at the moment. So India is still right now overcoming that. And do you really feel that it can really play that stronger part? At par with the, face-to-face, and that touch and feel things?
Absolutely. Very good question. No, there is no substitute for life. No matter what you do digitally, it will never come up to the value of life. But having said this, we will experience a whole changing part. I believe that events and trade shows become a lot more regional. People will not be traveling the world to attend trade shows for quite some time again as they used to. People are going to be focused more in their regional parts and then link up digitally to other parts. But I believe in this campfire gene in all of us that we want to be back talking to each other again, and there is no substitute for a live experience. But there are formats, if you're, for example, in training formats, in show and tell formats, where digitally gets pretty close. And then you trade off this broad range that you're able to get a far larger viewership compared to what would happen at a live event. And then it's a pure question of the return on investment, which way you choose.
Thank you. You've already answered the next question already. So, well, I'll just check if the audience has any questions for you. Suraji, would you have any question? Anybody else? Okay, we have Ronnie Noble. Will hybrid ever replace physicality of shows?
Yeah. I believe no, but in parts of the world it will be different. I'm pretty sure that especially in Germany, the exhibition industry will take a large hit and will not be back to the level it used to. But in other parts of the world, I cannot speak for India, but especially in China, trade shows are still growing and do still have the potential, especially with these markets locally. There is a huge opportunity. But I do also see an opportunity in trade shows and organizers taking over entire industries. So now if you have an industry like the one I showed as an example, where you only have one or two leaders, then one of these leaders have enough of the budget to create these platforms themselves. So they will go out there and create this hub and will draw the entire industry there. But there are many industries that are scattered, defragmented, that do not have where 80% of the turnover of the industry is with a handful of players. No, where there are thousands of players. Now, this is the opportunity for exhibition companies, for exhibition organizers to become this platform, no matter if it's live, digital, hybrid, but drawing together this platform and really becoming the industry. And we do see this in a lot of worlds, that especially also in industries, especially the hospitality industries that are hurting, that this opportunity organizers take over to really creating platforms here. And by the end of the day, to me, an exhibition is a marketplace, bringing people and products and services together. And if this marketplace then has an opportunity to be live, virtual and hybrid and has a value for everyone, this is important. But it's important to keep the core as the marketplace where the people keep going together. And therefore, focus on the scattered industries and create their marketplace, because then you are also the owner of the data of everyone attending, and this will have the true value in the future.
Thank you. We have another question. Let us check. Okay, we have another question from Priya Sharma. Would it be correct to assume that you are of the opinion that in the coming years, physical shows will witness more of local presence and international communities will be present digitally instead of traveling to the show?
Yes, I believe so. And one indication is a very simple indication. If you look at the international air travel capacities, they're now down to 30% and even less in some markets. And they will not be able to build up these capacities, and they will not build up these capacities up to levels where they used to be. What's going to be happening, they will raising their prices. So flying Delhi, London will become in the future extremely expensive because even when the demand is growing, they will not continue growing the capacities, they will raise the prices first. And therefore it will make it extremely expensive for international attendees to come over. And while you as a company maybe send off 5 people to attend a trade show, you will now think about it, maybe you only send 1, or you would prefer saving time and money to have them attend digitally.
Thank you. We have another question from Mr. Anand Vivarekar. How should a hybrid event manage opening and closing time as the attendees are from different time zones?
It's also a very good question and difficult to answer. I believe a hybrid event or a satellite event doesn't have to have the same opening and closing times, because it is if you do a satellite event, you can do the opening ceremony for everyone convenient and then link them together in a fitting element. But having said this, this is a challenge we still have to overcome. And getting people to get up at 4 in the morning to attend a keynote session is not going to happen. So therefore it is important to pick and choose. And what we've done, that we picked and choose, then we do like 3 keynotes for several time zones in the world that are a bit more focused on these parts. But having said this, I do truly believe it is important to fix a date and time. If you don't do this and just tell everyone, you can attend tomorrow at noon, or just watch the video, then everyone is going to say, I'll watch the video sometime later. And as I know from my own experience, when I say this, I'm never going to watch the video. So keep making sure that you invite people to event dates, even if they're fully virtual.
All right. Thank you very much, Colja, for joining us and giving us such an informative session over here. Thank you, and you have a good day. Over to you. Yeah, I think Sonia is going to come. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Colja, just wanted to thank you for joining us. I think it was our pleasure and honor to get a peep into what is happening internationally. And what I can say is, irrespective of how the travels will be restricted in the coming months and weeks, but we would definitely love to have you in India in a physical format at one of the IEIA seminars, if not by the end of this year for a physical event, but maybe sooner or later. But thank you for giving us also a peep in your showroom, in your studio.
I can do this
having
again,
this, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing you in person in India sometime soon when life is becoming a little bit saner. Over to you, Sanjay,
Thank you.
to wrap up.
Bye.
Thank you very much. I think we'll proceed now. I think Nidhi, you can take over.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay, Colja, and thank you, our president, and Mr. Suraj as well. It was a wonderful session, and we really got to learn a lot about the hybrid events and the new emerging technologies. Thank you, Colja, for this wonderful session, and thank you, Sanjay, for these really pointed questions, which are very relevant to our sector per se.